Joining us now is Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Ambassador, thank you so much for being with us. We've heard the Prime Minister, he's been clear he's opposed to a Palestinian state. What is your reaction to Blinken saying that what is so powerful in these conversations he's having with countries on his trip is that the path to real security for Israel includes a Palestinian state?
I think when Secretary Blinken talks about this, he's talking about something that is on the horizon, not something that's doable today. And today we're focusing on the immediate post-war situation in Gaza once Hamas has been defeated. And there I think there's a lot of common ground. We say Gaza has to be post-Hamas. Hamas has to no longer be ruling there, that Gaza will be demilitarized and Gaza will be de-radicalized. That promises a better future, not just for Israel. That promises a better future for the people of Gaza, too.
It sounds like what Netanyahu is speaking about is also on the horizon, and these are two very different pictures. And obviously what is on the horizon matters. If you have Saudi Arabia, for instance, among other countries, open, as Blinken said, to establishing diplomatic relations with Israel, but it would require an end to the war and practical steps, right? So not a Palestinian state immediately, but practical steps, which is something that could come sooner. Are you shutting the door on that?
Definitely not. We have a formula in Israel, which is the Palestinians should have all the powers to rule themselves and none of the powers to harm Israel. Now, that second part of the formula has become especially pronounced since the October 7th massacre we never want to see. Palestinians cross the border like they did on October 7th and brutally attack, rape, burn alive, behead our people ever again. And so, of course, there has to be demilitarization. We spoke about that. But the idea that Palestinians should rule themselves, that's something that Israel has accepted.
Officials in your government, including your finance minister, had proposed Palestinians emigrating out of the Gaza Strip following the war. Quote unquote voluntary emigration is what it was called. The U.S., of course, adamantly opposing this. There's now a report out of Israel that that proposal is actually off the table. Is that true?
100%. It was never seriously on the table. We have a large cabinet. I think in our ministerial staff, we've got close to 40 people, and you'll get differences of opinion. But ultimately, decisions taken by the government, led by the Prime Minister, is that this has never been seriously entertained.
So it's not off the table because of U.S. opposition?
No, it's just not on the table because it's not serious. At the moment, we're focused on winning this war and on creating a post-war reality which will be better for Palestinians and better for Israelis. Obviously, we worry about our own people first. Every country worries about its own citizens. But ultimately, getting rid of Hamas gives the Palestinians in Gaza a new hope, a new future, because Hamas has been in power now for 16 years. And what have they brought the people of Gaza, Brianna? Misery, bloodshed, poverty. The people of Gaza deserve better themselves.
Can you tell us more about this visit from the UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence and Conflict? And specifically, you know, when you read about this in the Israeli press, it talks about there's been an invitation for Pramila Patten to come. She's coming. She's going to be investigating. But the UN is clear, even though she's gathering information, they say she's going to be meeting with victims. She'll be meeting with hostages, released hostages. They say clearly that her trip is not intended to be investigative. Does this go far enough in your view?
I think the feeling in Israel, and especially among the women's organizations, is that the UN is late to the game here. But I suppose we could say better late than never. I mean, the evidence that has come out of Hamas organized rapes, using rape as a weapon of war, brutalizing women, and one of the tragedies, the horrors of this situation is my understanding is most of the women who are raped were then murdered, mutilated, their bodies mutilated. Terrible, terrible crimes against women, terrible crimes against humanity. And that's one of the reasons I think we say there can't be peace with this Hamas regime. A regime in Gaza that says every Israeli man and woman is a target for this sort of atrocious behavior, you can't have peace with them. They say themselves they believe in permanent war with Israel. They say themselves they would do October 7th with the rapes and the murders and the beheadings and the burnings alive. They'd do all that again. They say so publicly. So it's crucial that we win this war. This is a war against brutality. This is a war against an organization committing horrific violence against innocent people. They must be defeated. Their military machine must be destroyed.
But Ambassador, what do you understand that she is coming to do? And is that an important distinction, coming to investigate versus coming to gather information as we have seen this evidence of these horrible atrocities that happened on October 7th?
So it's not clear to me. I'm only going by the public statements of the United Nations. But as I said, I mean, she shouldn't have been here like 3 months ago when this was
But do
happening.
you want her to investigate?
I mean,
is that important to Israel?
I think it's very important. It's important that the UN speaks the truth. And here we've had, unfortunately, over the years, a systematic anti-Israel bias in the UN structure, maybe reflected by her late coming now, that it took her so long to come here. But it's not just Mark Regev, not just the Israeli government has talked about anti-Israel bias in the United Nations. Two former Secretary Generals, both Ban Ki-moon and Kofi Annan, publicly addressed the issue of anti-Israel bias in the United Nations. Unfortunately, the current leadership of the United Nations, instead of standing up and trying to fight internal biases in the UN, seems to be embracing it. So it's good that she's coming, but once again, it's late.
Mark Regev, thank you so much. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.